The Willows TV show ran for 52 episodes on ITV from 1984 to 1988. The figures were shown at an event in the early 90s, never to be seen again. Until now. The puppets were believed to be lost before being rediscovered by chance.
They were looked after by a set maker, model maker, Andrew Dunning, who looked after them. They went on an adventure for 30 years. And a few months ago, Duke's, the auction house, were advertising them, and the sale Waterside tracked them down, and these characters and many more are now going to be residing at the sale Waterside, they hold the Cosgrove Hall archives, and they will be on display later this year, so watch this space.
Cosgrove Hall was based here in Manchester, so not far from Sale, where this is. So it's based in Chawton-cum-Hardy. And then when the studio was dissolved in 2011, all the puppets were just kind of left in, I think like a loading bay in ITV. I think a lot of people presumed that all the puppets had been lost. So in 2017, Wes Wood and Richard Evans brought them here to Waterside, where we've been looking after them ever since. So we've got hundreds of puppets, hundreds of costumes, set from original shows by Cosgrove Hall.
These handmade puppets range in height from just 5 inches to the tallest being Badger, who is a whopping 14 inches tall. They are made out of cast resin with metal jointed skeletons inside to give them slight movement. For Barry, it is the first time he has seen them in almost 30 years.
Seeing these puppets is quite extraordinary. It's a bit of a time machine. We didn't have any video in those days, so when we animated, we just had to animate and click, animate and click. We couldn't see what we were doing. I quite like the idea of just doing that and click. You get a real sense of connection with the puppet, but I get a bit emotional looking at these puppets. These are definitely the original. As I say, all the clothes are made by hand and embroidered by hand, and all the buttons and chains and everything.
We didn't know these puppets were in existence, so having them back, returned at Waterside, is an incredible journey. When you look at the hands on this puppet, you can see it's kind of sort of crumbly kind of texture, and that's because it's made with foam latex. So when it ages, it gets really kind of crumbly, kind of orange texture. I think when we first discovered that these were still around and we saw them and what condition they were in, we were just really overwhelmed, because a lot of them were made with this kind of foam latex kind of material.
Cosgrove Hall Films brought together some of the biggest talents, puppet makers, actors and animators in the UK to create, adapt and produce popular animations. Barry has fond memories of these days.
I have to tell you, he was a joy to work with. He was very lively. On this series, we were cast as the characters. You wouldn't do that today. Today you would do that shot or that scene. But in my episode, I animated Toad, nobody else touched him. And I also animated Ratty, so it was lovely to have a scene between the two of them, because you were doing both puppets and you knew how they would react. But somebody else would do Badger and somebody else would do Moley. And unless you really communicate, you don't quite know what that puppet is going to do. He could be really annoying. Your job was to make him lovable. And it's a great foursome of characters.
It's good to be home. Bronnie Jones, That's TV.